Hey guys, what's up? Sup, pups? Welcome to another show of Greg and Friend.
Greg and friend.
Yep, not friends, just one.
There's
Yeah,
more. It's just I'm the only one here. So
yeah,
you
true.
guys have to take what you can get.
Yeah, that was an old Who's Line joke, but I always remember it. But
It's a good.
and I always like that's one of those things I'll always go back on YouTube and like watch old Who's Line Is It Anyway clips. Not the recent one because the recent one's garbage. Uh,
Yeah,
but
it's weak.
the '90s, the good old '90s. But welcome, people. Let's see. We have Chaos already saying some hurtful things.
Oh my god, that dude. Am I
I
right?
won't. I won't acknowledge him. So not even going to
The
read what
chaos.
he's commenting on. He just says hello, Greg and Joe. And Nico says he's early today. Well, I guess so. I don't know, man. I was fighting like a bad headache like not too long ago. It must be like the allergies chalking that up to down here in Texas. I don't know if you've been struggling with allergies up there.
It's weird. It used to only be like at first it was like no allergies. Then I turned 18 and it became like uh late spring, early summer. I would get them for like about a month, and then it would kind of pass. And now it's like 3 times a year. Like every year I get older, it just gets worse every part of the season. I have to just move someplace that's hot all the time eventually.
Yeah, that happened to me. Like I've been in Texas for geez, maybe going on 4 years and like never really had an allergy. Like I had allergies, but it was fine. Like it was just your seasonal allergies. But man, this last September or this past year of September, so not this September, but last year September,
Yeah,
I got hit with the ragweed because I finally got tested and they're like, oh, yeah, you're getting your ass kicked by ragweed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so stupid.
it
Like,
is. It's annoying.
it just like, and it just popped up out of nowhere. It was like all of a sudden, hey, this ragweed is really killing you this time around. And it's like, why? Because, what did I do? Why
Well,
did this?
it's weird to be fine every season and then just one day out of nowhere your eyes
Yeah.
start watering, your nose starts getting weird, and it's like, what is happening right now? And it can just get progressively worse, like really fast, like uh, when it's least expected.
Yeah, I absolutely despise it and I want to destroy it. And I don't get why the text. Oh, there we go. I don't know. The text always seems like it like for our names in the lower left corner. It always seems like it changes, and it bothers me. Chaos now insulting my genes. Well, I am ginger, so what can I do? What can I do?
He- He's just talking about your blue jeans and he spelled it wrong.
Oof.
Don't take it personal.
Certainly not the last time he'll be insulting me, but
Like people are
yeah,
always
today's
jealous of my Levi's.
what's up?
People are always jealous of your Levi's and your
Hmm.
your boss Hugo fancy high end blue jeans.
Absolutely. Speaking of blue jeans, like I actually had to like get some new blue jeans per se because I've been on keto for a while and I lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So it's always that nice feeling when it's like, wow, like these like it should be what I should have gotten all my life, but it's not. And finally I can fit back into blue jeans where I don't need to get the I used to get the ones that would stretch a little bit.
Hmm.
But like I still like those. I just like that style in general just because it's like how some people can be like a 33 normally, but depending on the brand, it's like technically a 33 and a half or something is what makes
Yeah.
you feel good. Like that's why I like those stretch styles because it covers that area.
And I like them for things such as Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I know I'm going to be eating mucho food. I don't want no regular blue jeans on me.
Absolutely. You got to go ham on that ham.
Ham on that ham. I've never heard a more appropriate thing in all my life.
I don't know about you, Joe, but I'm like when it comes to Thanksgiving, so uh way like obviously sadly and oh man, even with the holidays, it's just for me it's getting a little bit like sad and not like full on depression sort of thing, but the traditions you grow up with, as your grandparents pass on, like you lose those traditions that you were always used to. But one of the things is like for Thanksgiving, we would have turkey, but I would always go for the ham. So I'm like when it comes to Thanksgiving or like Christmas and stuff, like I don't need the turkeys. Like give me the ham. I love the ham.
I I've gotten to this weird point where like I've been spoiled by too many holidays now,
Hmm.
and I have this expectation that both will be there. And I can mentally hear myself getting shitty beforehand if one of them's not, just at the thought of it. Like one year, I just thought about a few key things being missing, and I was like, man, if I get over to their house and they're and the fucking cranberry sauce jelly stuff from the can ain't there, like I'm seriously gonna scream at somebody. Like I wouldn't really, but like my gut just
Yeah.
is like I can just feel the rage boiling up. Like sometimes I'll even take stuff just in case because there's been one or two times in like 10 or 15 years that like green bean casserole got forgotten. I'm like bringing some just in case because if I get screwed out of my green bean casserole again, I'm gonna have an absolute shit fit when I get home and there aren't people around to see it.
Just freak out and just
Yeah.
start screaming at people. Like, where the hell is it?
Well, one year there wasn't cranberry sauce, and I'm like trying as hard as I can to keep smiling
Oh
in the
gosh.
gathering. But in my head, I was just like, this whole thing is ruined. Like, I was so mad. But and one year my mom even put like cranberries in the cherry pie. And all I look forward to is my mom making things exactly the same way, always. I don't want her to get crazy or try something new. Just don't make it
Just
right. You can
yeah.
try new
Just
stuff on your own
you
time.
know what works. It's if it's not broken,
Yeah.
don't try to fix it.
Yeah,
Greg said,
I'll do it. I was so mad. And my mom too, like I love her, but it's like that one thing where like and I was a teenager at the time still, so it's still a little snarky. I was like I took one bite of that pie and I just remember chewing it slow and looking at her with like probably the craziest, most evil stare a person has ever made. Like,
"Oh
what
gosh."
did you put in my cherry pie? Like I was that been out of shape about it, but she's a good lady. She understands. She made me a new one. She's a good mama.
There you go. Let's see. Greg wears skinny jeans like the fruit he is. Greg probably got gay jeans like Vic. No, I don't think anything can top the gay pants that Vic has. The Oh yeah, we'll talk about that chaos. The whole Vic situation, the Vic booming that happened on Simcast.
Now, I
Did you?
love Vic, and this is no way an insult towards him, but
Mhm.
his wardrobe is literally like a hot topic via like 1997. Just keeps throwing up constantly and can't stop itself. It's like it's all like very specific, like 97, 98.
Oh man, did you hear about that, Joe? Like Vic's once again,
Yeah,
just the whole the pants thing.
I mean, I
Like
didn't see it.
recently.
I Yeah, I heard about it second hand, actually from Chrissy, but
Mm.
it to me it from the way it was described. I didn't feel like anything really major happened. Like someone
No, it
walked in his
didn't.
room that
It
didn't want to
didn't.
be on camera. He just moved his camera, and it happened to be not the best placement. But he had like pants, like underwear on, from what I understand. So
It did. I watched the clip because fat Ren Fatmas made a big
yeah,
thing about it because these people just can't let it go, and they somehow think this is a gotcha on how terrible Vic is, even though they literally are still accepting a kid diddler Mills in the
for
industry.
sure. Yeah,
So I just like these bozos just cannot let it go, and they're yeah, I saw it and I'm just like, this isn't anything. Like, oh my gosh. Like, first of all, like there's worse things that's happened online. There's Dark Side Phil, jacking it on his own show.
that's true.
You
I
had
forgot about
that.
that.
What's up?
I said I forgot all about that. You're right.
Yeah, there's that. Pokimane, I think, recently just had a thing where her boob was out, but I personally think it was staged. You have
Yeah,
that. Um, oh, there was something else that I had to, but the fact of the matter is that these fuckers like think this is proof of anything, and it's like, oh my gosh, you guys, they have nothing else to do. That's how they try to stay relevant.
you're 100% accurate. Like Renfamous is this like washed up tard that's just been floating around like all these different niches and circles of the internet, just trying to hang in there because
Hmm.
nothing she does works. It's one of those things where she annoys people into just not responding and then gets mad when no one responds and no one cares. It's like, say what, you don't have any legitimate like
Hmm.
sway. You're just a crazy girl with mental problems. So she her jump in was in Comicsgate. So I've known about Renfamous for like 5 years,
Oh,
four
really?
years.
Wow.
Yeah. Which everyone over here considers are just like it's like a joke, you know. Like if someone brings up Infamous, it's like, really? That old bag from like 3 or 4 years ago is still complaining about something on the internet? Give me a
Oh
break.
man. She was probably like that was probably the closest thing she'll ever get, and she was like probably really salty.
She used to be a normal little right wing Texan. I don't know what happened.
Oh
Hair
wait,
turned blue.
she's corrupting this wonderful soil that is Texas.
Hmm.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, she's somewhere around Houston, and I'm not doxing her. It's
Oh
common
well.
knowledge
Oh
about it.
no. Well, one I obviously I mean I don't care in the end, but I understand that. Yeah, don't no doxing or anything like that. But
Yeah.
no, mine was more the fact that you just say Houston, and I understand completely.
Hmm.
Oh man. Nico, I mean, Vic should always been wearing pants, always, just in case of something like this. But Vic's just old man boomered. That's all. You know, here's the thing: is Vic's not the only one who's ever done that? I fucking guarantee it, and I guarantee you, there's been incidents like this that have been way worse. Like,
I've
these
seen it
people.
hundreds of times, literally. Like most people in boxers don't think too deep into it. I've had my boxers on live shows years ago and got up and moved around and done stuff. Like it's just not the big deal they think it is. It's like
Yeah,
you think
it's
people don't just sit around and like they don't understand like newscasters and they got on like blue jeans and shorts behind that desk. They just put on the shirt and the jacket. Like anytime you see SNL actors, even for Weekend Update, like get up from the set a little too early, they've
mhm.
always got on like their gym shorts and a pair of Nikes or even boxers sometimes. They don't even always have on much of anything. It's like they just threw the shirt, the tie, and the jacket and rushed them out there and said no one will see. There's
No
a
one will
desk
see.
cover. Who cares? So
My only criticism, Chaos says, of Vic is he needs to shave his legs. My criticism of Vic is he just needs to like, and I know in the end it's just who he is as a person, but he just needs to go ham and just call these people out hardcore and then just let it be that. Because they'll get super butthurt if he like there's just guys, you guys are a bunch of like I just want to see him go hard and drive that knife in. But
that's part of why they hate him though, is he is extremely nice and extremely sweet and like
mhm.
no joke. I've hung out with the dude in real life. He doesn't even barely acknowledge women around, even really good looking women. Like it just does not click in his brain the way they act. He's always like caught up in the moment of talking to fans or
Mhm.
um I went out to dinner with him in a group of some people and there was no interest in females period. He was actually busy talking to his guy buddies the entire time. You know, he's not, their portrayal is such a weird exaggerated version of a person that doesn't exist. It's like he's almost too nice for his own good, if that makes sense.
No, I understand completely. I mean, the tea I have of certain individuals behind the voice acting community, like again, like from what I've heard, like the supposed allegations that Vic has done is nothing. It's child's play.
It's literally the most silliest goofball shit.
Yeah,
It's
it's the most
none
serious
of it
thing when
legitimate.
there's true, actually disgusting diddlers being welcomed with open arms in the industry.
Oh yeah, yeah, dudes that are not ashamed, they don't hide it. It's out there for
Yep.
the whole world to see. It's not a secret.
Nico says, I'm not
Comment.
saying it's a big deal for everyone, but for Vic, given his troubles, I think he should be more careful because he's not everyone anymore, sadly. But I understand what you're saying, but part of that means is that Vic would be kind of letting them win in a sense. Because the way to piss these people off the most is to go on to just go on your life and stuff, because these people live in the past, and that's why they have to constantly bring up all this garbage, because they'll twist whatever they do, whatever Vic does is they're gonna twist it to make it that Vic is a bad person. It's
Yeah,
gonna
oh,
happen.
wearing pants all the time. You worried, Vic? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and you can already see where it's going. He'll get harassed for wearing pants. He'll get harassed for wearing no pants. He'll get harassed for being clothed as much as Kenny from South Park, where all you can see is his eyeballs and his nose, and they'd still have something to say. Yeah, he just has to go
Well,
on and
like
be
one of the
normal in his life.
mhm.
Because if he does, yeah, if he walks on eggshells forever, they're gonna see that.
Yeah, they're when the enemy throws the eggshells down on the ground and then expects you to make sure that you're going to be walking between them, you immediately just start stomping on those eggshells and keep walking forward, because don't let them determine anything from them, because they're going to paint you in the bad lighting whenever they can. Like one of the funniest things to me is the fact that of them twisting it to where, well, he always has these, back in the day, he would always have these panels where he brings up all the allegations and the rumors and has to dispel them. So he knows these, like, that is admitting that he's guilty. It's like, if people constantly keep saying you're this and you're saying no, of course you would want to be like, hey, let's nip this bud right now, and I'm going to tell you everything of what they're saying and how that's fucking not true. That's what a normal person, anybody would do, but these people think that that's an admittance of some kind.
Well, they're mentally ill. They're
Mhm.
what's the point of placating to people that literally don't live in reality? Like it to a weird point, to a strange point, where we're not even sure how they function, or even sign into Twitter long enough, or figure out how to type amongst their constant, literally shaking tweets and all the exaggerated dramatics and silly bullshit they do. It just comes off silly and stupid anyways. I
Mhm.
think too, like, we gotta remind ourselves too, like, the outside world really doesn't pay as much attention to the stuff as we do. Like, I can't tell you how many anime fans and like people I know just from owning shops and things like that I've brought up Vic with them, and this is the extent of their knowledge. Oh, that dude that voiced Broly, because they're DBZ fans usually. They don't
Yep.
really know his Star Trek or the other stuff, but they know him from um, a few anime things. I want to say maybe like Full Metal Alchemist. I feel like that's been brought up. If he did a voice on there, you can
Yeah, he
correct me.
was Edward, the main character.
Okay. Yeah, and that's it. And then the only
Mhm.
other thing I might hear is, "Hey, I met him at a con. He's super nice." Like, they just don't pay attention to the crazy on Twitter the way we kind of have to, because it's almost part of our jobs. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
Kind of be keeping up on what's happening around us. And I get it can be a lot of people at times, but when you think in the scale of the whole country too, it's like we have 350, 400 million people ish in this country. And when you realize, like, not even like a quarter, not even a tenth of them are actually regulars on Twitter, it's it it puts things in perspective a little bit more. And I'm sure he
Mhm.
kind of gauged that when he's like, well, when I go to the store, no one knows who I am or cares
Mhm.
about these made up things. When I go do this, when I go to the bank, probably because he hasn't been canceled on the level of some people too. Like, I'm sure if you're Andrew Tate or Kanye West, you have a different opinion of all that, obviously. But we're not talking about a case that that extreme. So
Yeah, exactly. It's But that's the thing, is that these people, like, it's, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to that. It's a niche. Like, it's a niche, and these people are the niche of the niche, and some of them are the niche of the niche of the niche, and they're trying to make it like it's always been that way, and it's like, no, sort of thing. Like I remember doing, back in college, I wrote a paper about anime and how the Western uh, art world needs to start being more accepting of anime or manga as an art style. Some people still have that to that day, and what I can tell you about, especially what the Western VO community is trying to do, and Eric has said this as well, is the LGBTQ community is not what anime is about. You might have the
No,
themes
it's not.
based around that sort of thing, but it's not the history of anime. And these people are trying to make it that was the forefront of anime. Like, that's what you need to focus on all the time. This. And it's like, no, that's not where it came from. It most certainly is not what brought it to existence, sort of thing.
Oh, and it's just
And
such a general lack of knowledge of like Japanese culture. Like
mhm,
anyone that's really into anime or manga and studies up about like the way people are over there and the perceptions of things in general. I know not everyone's exactly the same, but in
where's
general,
where's
um,
Rod when we need him?
yeah, exactly. Um, and here's what I've been told by people literally from Tokyo. And I've heard
Hmm.
this from people that are Americans that married into families and just lived there for the last 10 or 12 years. I've
Hmm.
heard this from people that were born there and raised there, and their English is good enough that we can communicate. And they say this is kind of how it works, and this applies to pro wrestling, baseball, like any entertainment over there is
Hmm.
when you're at work or when you're at home or when you're walking down the street or you're at school, you act like a normal human being. And when you go to karaoke or when you go to baseball or wrestling or you draw manga, like you're working in the art or the entertainment, that's the space to kind of get wild and do crazy things and just stretch the limits and see what's what. It's like it's considered that's the acceptable place. Like, yeah, you can't scream and yell Naito on a train, but if without people looking at you like you're an effing weirdo. But if you're at a wrestling event and you're screaming Naito at the top of your lungs nonstop, no one's going to give a thought to it because it's the appropriate place for it. And manga is the appropriate place to do your Shonen Jump boy adventures, or you might want to, if you're really eccentric, you might want to do something that features a tranny or a man. Like it's anything goes in that world, and they say this is where
Hmm.
you tell those kind of stories if you're going to do it. It was never the focus. It was never a theme. It was never a political or virtue point on behalf of the Japanese. It was just this is the place where you're allowed to
Hmm.
express ideas that might not be the norm, and we're not
Hmm.
going to judge you for it. That's literally all it was. Liberals
That's
don't know the appropriate place for anything ever because they are the most inappropriate, disgusting people our country has to offer.
Then that's what I've been saying as well. Is like, again, like, what you're trying to say is what the community is, or what it's always been, is simply just a niche of
Yeah.
that thing. Pretty much what you just said, Joe. So yeah, I'm really getting like tired of it too, because these people are just like insane.
Well, they only know how to hijack and destroy. They can't create. They're not
Yeah.
smart. They're not good at anything. And they've been taught to that society accepts you just constantly um, being fake virtuous. When it's like, no, society actually doesn't tolerate it. Try doing this shit in a normal job. It won't fly. You know, Walmart will just fire you. So,
Nico, back then, when going back to what he was saying about Vic, not giving your enemies the ammunition to attack you is not the same as giving into your enemies. I understand that. What I'm saying is that these weirdos will find a way to make it into ammunition in any way, shape, or form. That's how like out of touch these people are. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
Sumo,
There's nothing
hey.
wrong with Vic being cautious. We're not saying Vic can't be cautious. We're just saying he
Hmm.
can't be so cautious that he's having to alter his life over a handful of Looney
Hmm.
Tunes.
That's probably, yeah, I was probably just in my Punisher mode and I just said plow right through it and just annihilate and kill everything in sight, sort of thing, and then you'll be good.
Yeah. How about it?
Hey, Sumo
Hey, what's
Thori,
up,
what's up?
Sumo?
He says, "Hey, Joe Ball."
Yep, Sumo's good dude.
Nice. Very cool. Nico says, "Yep, manga is actually very liberal in their comic ideas." Well, it was also like propaganda too, like way back in history and stuff. You know, that's what they used to show news and propaganda and stuff. And the Western comics kind of, influenced them a little bit. Oh, I forgot his name, but an
Let's be
artist.
honest though,
What's up?
if we really took all of the manga or anime that falls into the realm of like the LBGTQ degenerate ideas that they typically cling to,
Hmm.
anything that remotely falls in that realm, they're going to be thoroughly disappointed to find out those mangas are typically not presenting them in a positive light in any shape or form. They're usually villains, crazy people, degenerates. Everyone's making fun of them and calling them all kinds of terms we get kicked off of YouTube for using. Like, it's really just leave manga and anime alone because you're going to find out it's not really, even when the themes are used, it's rarely like saying like, "Oh man, you got to support the gays." Like that's pretty rare. It'll happen occasionally, but it's usually just degenerate nonsense for people that like the equivalent of romance novels. It's not serious.
It's why you also die in games. Well, I mean, it's a game, so who cares? Because I'll just I'll just respawn, sort of thing too. That's the other thing too. That's also what kind of really with even video games nowadays. That's kind of got me down in the dumps too. Is even the joy for playing video games and stuff like that gets gets thrown to the side because these people have to insert some stupid message inside of it. Aaron Calamari says,
Calamari, yep, one of my buddies.
Calamari, nice. Hey, what's
Yeah.
up, Aaron? Says, why are you guys being so mean to those nice, tolerant liberals? I don't know. I guess we're just assholes. We're just
Aaron's like, "Oh no, not the liberals!" Oh,
well, speaking of, well, never mind. That was a terrible segue. Um I don't know why I was gonna say speaking of something, but I'm gonna bring up let's see how Death is doing. I haven't checked up on it lately.
it's not doing too shabby.
Oh, looks like hmm. Oh, I'm being distracted by Melon, uh the StreamYard's alternative because I was like, "Oh, they changed their screen share. It looks a lot better."
Yeah.
Let's see. Nice, dude. 75K, almost a 76K. Sweet.
Yep, we're getting close. We're right there on the cusp of it. One big purchase will get it over the hump. So I got my fingers crossed here in the next like 24 hours I can get over that hump and start focusing on towards 80K and then 100K.
Well, you heard it, guys. Anybody who's new that hasn't already, check out Death. If you like Ava, that is Neon Genesis Evangelion. If you really like this kind of detailed art style, I've heard people compare it to Berserk sort of thing. If you like biblical, the biblical supernatural elements, Death is the story for you.
Yes,
Look,
yes. Sumo, I see your comment there, dude. I had shut that store down because we had two King Toad stores open and I didn't like that. So I'm gonna start converging things overall into the one that's now linked in my Twitter description. You'll see it's the same one linked in Shane Mess's Twitter description, my business partner. So I'll start getting some original art uploaded on our main Etsy store here soon. But if you have interest in anything, man, just hit me up on Twitter. Uh, I'll get you all squared away. I got plenty of options, and I'll give you the sweet hookup since you're a regular.
Nico says it's biblical mythology. Yes, there are some biblical mythologies in there, but obviously being presented in a unique and very interesting way. Just look at that coloring right there. I still love the blue. My
Thank you. And I
favorite.
use the term biblical mythology. I like that you do as well because, like, some of the things that are biblical mythology that I use in it are not from the King James Bible. So I don't
Mhm,
like to call them like canon accurate because it's stuff where, yeah, some of it I consider accurate, but some of it too, I don't know one way or the other.
mhm,
I can't make that call. It's not up to me. I know the KJV is the core. That's what you can kind of you can base opinions on. The other stuff you just got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. If that makes
mhm.
sense. So there's Book of Enoch type stuff. Some like Testament of
Okay.
Solomon type stuff. So there's some I forget what they call it, the apop apocryphal. I can't even say the
Oh,
word,
uh, I know what you're talking about. I can't even say it either. I can't even
but a lot of the side stuff, I'll get
apocryphal?
little yeah, I'll get little uh bits of influence from that stuff as well. So
Mhm,
that's kind of how you'll see some of that translated in. But
mhm,
it's like the Noah's Ark stuff. It's accurate that there's a flood happening to the Bible, but you're also seeing it from an Atlantean's point of view, and we can't say for fact that there was Atlant. It's little things like that. That's why I try not to like. It's a weird line you ride where you're like, you can't change the Bible, so you
mhm.
can't present things in a way of saying this is what it says in the Bible unless it literally says that in the Bible. So I try to be real careful about those lines I ride because
Mhm.
I don't ever want to be
Absolutely.
accused of something or someone think I'm being disrespectful to the source. The Bible's my favorite book ever. Period. I would never want to disrespect that source.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, if for those who actually are interested in the faith or of the faith, obviously, know your Bible. I use the ESV version, but also know the culture and everything around it. And um, you can
Yeah, yeah.
definitely, what's that?
I said I was agreeing with you. I just said yeah, I agree with you. There is
Yeah.
a culture
Hmm.
and all these like little kind of nuanced things that you
Hmm.
learn more about over time. And even the Bible itself, I mean, you can reread the Bible 100 times over and
Hmm.
get new things from it each time. And people think it's like this big insurmountable book, but it's really not like it's not the massive read it seems to be. Like it all felt like when we were kids growing up. It's a
Yeah.
lot of information to retain, really. So that's kind of the tough part about it. And yes, Nico, I see your message there with this Sunday, dude. We can definitely get into some Bible mythologies.
Ooh, fancy. Yeah, Bible mythology is awesome. Obviously, and what I was also reiterating on the fact is obviously in the end, just guard your heart. Like what Joe said, and what I also agree with too. It is the belief that the Bible was that God breathed through man to connect and to instruct and to ultimately reach out and love His creation and to provide them a way to get saved uh, through the many books inside of the Bible. And that's of course not to let it to not means that you can't what would be the proper wording, um comment on it, I guess, per se, well, without saying this is exactly what, this is what it says, sort of thing, like pretty much what
Yeah.
you said, what you said earlier, Joe. You can definitely, and it ties into the whole the insanity that you're seeing on both nowadays with the progressive idea of what people think a Christian is or what the Bible says, to back in the 90s with the whole satanic panic sort of thing, you know saying Pokemon's the devil and that's sort of stuff. And it's like, well, I mean, if you guard your heart and understand what the Bible's saying, that sort of stuff isn't going to hurt you, sort of thing.
I know Christians that watch Harry Potter and they certainly don't
Yeah.
worship Harry Potter. It's like
Hmm.
it's like there's a certain level where your brain's there enough to know what you're looking at, that it's not
Hmm.
you're not going to be brainwashed by it. And it's tough because like generally these things kind of start out off of something legitimate and then the media
Yeah.
tries to spin it as something stupid where it's like, oh, these Christians say it's because of video games or music. It's like, no, those were actually all just Democrat housewives. Like none of those were like actual these were people like Al Gore's wife. You know, give me a break. Like there was real things happening at the time. There
Hmm.
were all these kids getting murdered and shit in the 80s. And the people that did it self-admittedly said they were Satan worshipers and why they did it, why it was so horrendous. They all had histories of mental problems and doing weird ritualistic things to begin with. And you know, it's always gets
Hmm.
these people get too close to spilling the beans on other things they're involved in, and usually the conversation gets pushed over. It's just like Me Too. It started out with people talking about child abuse and ritual abuse in Hollywood. And the minute that started to crop up and gain traction, and people wanted to hear what the Coreys had to say and what some of these other child stars had to say, it immediately got switched to, okay, let's march out all these whores from Hollywood that willingly did stuff and have them pretend like they've been used and abused when they let themselves be used and abused. They weren't helpless children.
Yeah.
You know, they had to completely spin the whole thing, and it's how it goes. Every 10 years, this stuff crops up, and they have
Yeah.
to do some weird spin to hide the reality of why it started to crop up in the first place as a topic.
Yeah, I know Chuck Missler says what is it, the Beryllian Challenge? Um, I'm I'm bad with that sort of stuff, but pretty much, it's a letter that Paul wrote to a specific type of people who were due diligent in looking over the scriptures, looking over the manuscripts and everything, and pretty much did their homework. That's kind of what I agree on too. When in the end, know your Bible, check out what the Bible has to say, and guard your heart. That's how
Mhm.
I look at it too. But don't contact the dead. God specifically said don't do that. Don't
Big
reach out.
time no no and a big time red flag because you don't know who you're talking to, and
Yeah.
that's the whole.
What's up?
Even if it's an angel of light, just either avoid it or test it. That's all you can do. You don't want to be talking to dead people or spirits or any of that nonsense because it's just gonna lead to calamity in one's life.
Yeah. I'm trying to find out. Man, this just goes to show I need to get good at my verses again. Not the Berean challenge, although he did talk about that. Anyway, the Berean challenge, but that's not what I was getting at. So I'll find it later and let you guys know what's up. But yeah, check out Death, Death, Death. Looks tight. Looks sick. Love that coloring. Let's crack that over to 76K and then just keep going from there.
Yep.
Sweet. Well, we'll go ahead and put up that article you sent me, Joe, because I've very interesting about that. Let's see.
Sumo, I see your comment, and I like you so much. I'll forgive you for trying to forgive me for being a Bengals fan because Cincinnati is the greatest city on planet Earth, and the Bengals are the best team in all of the NFL. And I cannot wait for Joe Burrow to just smoke everybody he comes by to the Super Bowl this year. Oh, it's got me, Jack. I screamed so hard for 4 hours straight Sunday, nonstop losing my mind at that game. It was glorious. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm really getting OCD now about that, the search the scriptures daily sort of thing. Oh,
Oh, here,
that's
I'll
John
talk about.
5:39. So,
Okay,
but that's not
search
the one I was
scripture
thinking
day.
of.
Dude, you can even just randomly open the Bible each day, and I think people would be shocked if they just put their finger down, and then read the first thing their finger touched, and just realize like it literally applied to exactly what was on their mind that morning. It's strange how that goes.
Yes. But so Joe sent me this article, and I kind of skimmed through it a little bit. But there's some meat in there that it's very interesting of comparing it to what the plan was when they were making Batman the animated series to what's happening now, and not just animation, but all over.
Yeah.
So this article states there were 3 rules Batman the animated series tried to never break. So if we kind of go through, it kind of gives you some background about how the evolution of Batman from being like a much more lighthearted figure, and then slowly turning into that more dark and intense sort of Batman
Yeah.
that we know, and what they're trying to recapture, and whether they're successful or not, who knows. But we've got here in this article, so it says over the course of the 70s and 80s, Batman would regain much of the darkness that originally defined him, thanks to the writer/artists like Frank Miller, and to some extent Neil Adams. The Dark Knight was on his way to reasserting his status as the creature of the night he once was. But it would take a children's cartoon of all things to really get him back to his roots. And when Batman the Animated Series debuted in 1992, the creators went to every effort to make sure the character's day spent battling bizarre beasts and contending with superpowers stayed firmly in the past. And apparently, this is where something called the Batman Bible came up. So, show creators Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski had set out to create something truly unique with Batman the Animated Series. From the outset, the pair envisioned a much darker take on the character than was typical for children's programming at the time. It wasn't long before writer Paul Dini added his spin on the whole thing, bringing in the now famous elements of film noir and even using Alfred Hitchcock for inspiration. He also contributed to the show Bible, which codified the rules to following when creating the show's look and narrative. On top of all that, as writer and producer Alan Burnett recalled in Vulture's oral history of the show, there were 3 distinct rules that kept Batman the Animated Series within its gritty, noirish bounds. Those rules were the antithesis of the Silver Age tales that had taken Batman so far from the darkness that defined his inceptions. And here we go. This is it. Quote, if we had these 3 rules, we had these 3 rules: no aliens, no ghosts, and no humanist awards. No pro-social stories. We were just out to have a good time and to give the audience some fun thrills. And I think that's a very powerful...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe. What were you going to say?
I'll say it's very respectable and commendable. Like even in the '90s, I know that wouldn't have sounded like an outlandish thing to say, but it's like you got to bear in mind, like these guys were already in the heart of Hollywood and entertainment at the time, or even though it wasn't like the focal point of the shows, they still tried to cater a little bit more to middle America. Um, Clearly, this was something that came up, or they wouldn't have even thought to make it a key rule. So we're lucky that there were some people around that rationally said, no, this is what we have to do if this is going to be successful and good, and not probably let outside influences have their way with it.
Mm-hmm. Applause. Damn, how far have we come from these 3 simple rules? Exactly. And that's kind of where I created this show, is with that last sentence too. We were just out to have a good time and to give the audience some fun thrills. And that is what entertainment is all about. But it's slowly dying, and that's not the purpose of entertainment. It's starting to become to where there needs to be a message, and not only a message, but a specific message that needs to rectify or retcon the grave injustices that are happening apparently in society. But not only does that not sell, it doesn't exist.
Well, and it's not entertainment if it's not
Yeah.
entertaining. It's like in the word. It's like, well, if no one's watching your stuff and all people do that do watch it is complain about it, then it's not entertainment.
Yeah, and it's getting to the point where even I think I pulled this up. It's another. Oh yeah, we'll cover this too. It's into comics, but it does kind of touch on what we're now talking about. The whole Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny,
Yeah.
where the apparently the director, who is supposedly supposed to be not have a short temper, not only does have a tempered apparently, for what I quickly glanced over, but getting mad at people who are leaking stuff out to people. And I don't know how you feel about this, Joe, but it's getting to the point where I think to kind of making a stance and making a statement to these companies of saying like, look, this is not what we want. The people that you are demonizing are the fans, the people you are listening to and going along with and creating these stories aren't real fans. And it's getting to the point where I would laugh so hard if every new project that's coming around, at some point something gets leaked about it and gets shown to the world.
Yeah.
Chaos Smash might as well start leaking their shit. Exactly. Because I think that would give a good understanding and showcasing of like, you want to know what the people think? There you go, right then and there. And you can go ahead and cry foul and say, you're all bigots or you're all this, you're all that and stuff like that. But if people can get a quick inside scoop right away, and it does show that you're not giving a crap about the thing, then fuck you. Like, good. I'm glad it's leaking.
Because it's like your average person, it's not a movie that really makes them bigoted. It's not a TV show that's going to make them bigoted. It's getting mugged on the same fucking corner every day that's going to make them bigoted. So they have to start finding an alternate way to get to work each day. It's not going to be Captain Marvel. It's not going to be like they're just so silly that they think that's the sway their entertainment holds. It's like people don't base their cultural and life opinions in the way you think they do on it. They base their entertainment opinions, sure, but that's the average person is not. They just want to take their kids to have some fun at the movies this weekend, and you guys keep ruining it over and over, year after year. Uh, and even Marvel is getting to a point now where it's like little kids don't want to go to your movies like they did. Some of them still have the hype, but like you guys took Thor away from them. You're taking Black Panther away from them. You're taking away you know uh, Captain America. All these characters. You know how many times I had little kids come into my shops during the Marvel Comics boom, wanting Steve Rogers Captain America, and being confused when all they could find on the shelf was this garbage with Riri Williams, which is literally like a stereotype character written by a white guy, a white liberal. That's like he pushed every black stereotype he could into that character. She's a smart mouth. She's rude. She steals, like all these things, but then tries to present it all as virtuous. It's like, could you just maybe not have her be every negative stereotype of a black person? Like how what is wrong with you people? Like you say we're the bigots. I've never worked or wrote on a black character where my first thought was let's throw every stereotype in the book in this. That literally only happens with liberals every single time. A dude even tried to do a what if comic about Thor. Like what if Thor was a guy from the ghetto? And all he did was basically give Thor Jordans and have him want Asgardian chicken. Like, can you get any more fucking ridiculous, insulting, and stupid than that? For fuck's sake, at least admit that everybody loves fried chicken. I've never met anyone that doesn't, and the only ones that don't, it's not even that they don't like it. It's just it's like not part of their diet plan, or their stomach can't handle it because it's too greasy. Like it's
I like grilled chicken more, but yeah, like I can eat fried chicken, but
it's just the
unlike keto.
absurdity of it all. Like how absurd can you liberals be? constantly and expect us to take you seriously when the only people you're calling bigots are like the farthest from it. Yeah, like I'm not going to defend myself all the time to them. I'll get a little uptight on like a show like this, but like they've got to understand how not serious we take them as human beings. They're literally the joke of society at this point, and they don't even realize it because their bubbles are so small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fan. Nico says, yeah, the fans are gonna hate it anyway, so it's just sooner or later. That's yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's and the thing is that these corporation like I know you'll see a lot of people be like, well, once they start losing money, that'll kind of hopefully like wake them up to what's happening. It's like they've got a bunch of money, man. Like it's gonna
And they
take some.
know people that have tons of money. It's not like they can ever run out of money. Like Warner Brothers has been in the red for like fucking 20 years. All they did is lose money. It doesn't matter. They've never stopped making terrible DC shows, even though every single one of them has been an utter failure. Even the ones they dragged on for like 10 and 12 it's like you guys, you just have no clue about this stuff. You will lose company or lose money forever because you know there's always a bank that you have a buddy at that will hand you millions, billions, if not
Mhm.
trillions of dollars, no questions asked. Like that's why they don't have to care. Every time people say, "Well, you got to vote with your pocket," or vote with your dollar bill, it's like, have you guys not realized in the last 10 years they don't care that they're not going to run out of money? They could literally call the Fed Reserve tomorrow and say, "Print me up some credit," and the guys would just hit a button on a computer and send them the money. They have nothing to worry about. Their buddies are in every industry, every government, everything. It's
Mhm.
we can vote with our money and we need to, but simultaneously, except it's not going to work overnight because it really is going to take these companies failing, dying, and going away. It's
Mm.
it's going to take the most extreme scenario for them to
Yeah.
get the point. Or it's going to take someone like Elon coming in and just cleaning house to save some of these things.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's why I don't weep when I hear these people getting upset about piracy or again like stuff being leaked out. It's like don't make garbage content and then maybe people won't actively go out of their way to do this sort of thing.
If it's good, we'll pay for it.
Yep, exactly. And even people who pirate stuff like are more people, and they don't want to admit that study, but they found there's been studies out there that's proven that people who pirate more stuff will tend to buy more stuff, tend to buy the stuff because they looked at it, they said, "This is interesting. I want to get behind this," and they'll go out and buy it.
Yeah, I've done it tons of times, dude. I can't tell you how much like manga I went and looked up online just to get a look see to see if it was,
Hmm.
my flavor of book because I'm not sure and I'm not close enough to like a Barnes and Noble to just hoof it over there and flip through some manga to see what I'm thinking of it. And yeah, I I mean I read all of Berserk online and then went out and started buying all the giant books, even though I just read it.
Yep.
I support all that stuff. So it's yeah, it's completely true. Even on Napster, they were able to show like certain bands with high download rates. Yeah, people downloaded the album, but they also went out and bought it. It was like it correlated with some of the high sales of the time.
That's actually how Shaggy's "It Wasn't Me" got really popular.
Yeah.
A DJ from Hawaii downloaded the album and then played the song, and they were going through like the US and just not hitting it, and then this DJ from Hawaii played it over a song and it just blew up instantly. And then by the time they got to the because they were going all over the US, so I think they started in the East Coast and then was heading all the way to the West Coast, and then by the time they made it to the West Coast, like they were sold out. It's just so funny. Sumo says, "As Guardian chicken is delicious."
Well, I'm sure it is. I mean, how could it not be?
They say Chaos says they say stereotypes are bad and they still write these stereotypes out. See, that's the thing is that these people don't understand that stereotypes the reason why stereotypes is actually funny is because there's a little bit of truth to it that you can literally the whole point of a stereotype is so that you can laugh at yourself. To where it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, yeah, I see that all the time. Oh, that's funny. And then move on.
White people love to go to the car wash and wash their cars, and
Mm-hmm.
they get a little too serious about mowing their lawn. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the whole point is that you just laugh at the fact that these observations of like, yeah, these people like this particular thing, or whatever, white, like you said, white people washing cars. We all know about the stereotypical black things, um and Asian and all that stuff. It's funny. Like, you have to just laugh at yourself and move on. That's the thing. These people cannot laugh at themselves
It's
because
not
they,
the premise for serious stories.
yeah.
It's a joke, people.
And these people have built it on to where their sense of self-worth is based on how they hope other people see them. And the majority of the people in the world don't care about you, number one. And number two, just want to go about their day.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
three, when they want to decompress, they just want to be entertained.
yeah, yep. That's what it all comes down to. It's like the level of out of touch is so extreme that
Mm-hmm.
you don't know how they don't see it.
Nope, that one's empty. Oh, I found that one thing, by the way, that was bothering me. Here's your guys, I guess, a verse for today. What I was getting about earlier about with Chuck Missler, who promoted this idea. It's from Acts 17:11, which says, "Now these Jews were more noble than those in Thessalonica, or Thessalonica. They received the word with all eagerness, examining the scriptures daily to see if these things were so." That's what I was getting at earlier. Where again, do your homework about the Bible. See what the Bible has to say, because the Bible will explain itself. And with that, you can understand where what God is saying to the creations, and what do what to dabble with, what not to dabble with. So that's what I was getting at way back then when it comes to taking creative liberty to make stories based off of biblical mythology and whatnot. In the end,
Yeah.
going back to where some stuff happened and then people hijacked it and blew it up to this like this insanity sort of thing, with Pokemon being and Harry Potter being from the devil and all that stuff, to progressive Christians now watering down the word to where it's just as long as you feel good, that's it. That's all you need to do, which is not true.
Yeah, I think the reason it can get like you can get this weird tough kind of like wiggle spot is some people see from a Christian perspective, um, they see things like witchcraft or things of that nature being like normalized
Mm-hmm.
or made pretty or acceptable. Like I remember when I was a teenager, maybe like late teens, something like that. Sabrina the Teenage Witch was still a relevant show there in the late '90s, and
Hey, I remember
um,
that show.
yeah, and I remember a lot of like Christian parents of like friends of mine were like real weird about them watching it, and I didn't get it at the time. But later on as an adult, I remember them trying to explain they're trying to make witches seem like they're these pretty nice young girls that are just happy go lucky and have the best intentions in the world. And I'm like, kind of. I think it's just a silly Archie comic that got turned into a show, and you guys are just getting a little too bent out of shape about it. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's like you don't want to dismiss them because what they say has some level of validness. But at the same time, when they're talking to you, like you're too stupid to know the difference between some dork Harry Potter shit and real life and real Christianity, that's when it gets to be a little irritating. It's like, okay, I get it with your 6 year old. I'm not your 6 year old.
Yeah.
You don't you don't need to come
Mm-hmm.
preaching to me about what's what. I know this. You don't see any altars
Mm-hmm.
to Harry Potter in my house.
Yeah, and that's where Acts 17:11 can come into play. Know what the scripture says about it.
Mhm.
Guard your heart and you'll be fine, sort of thing. Like, because I also take witchcraft and black magic seriously, because it's out there. And part of being in the Western part of the world is that we don't really see that sort of stuff. If anything, it's happened behind closed doors. You go into the center of the world and more east, that stuff is actually a lot more common and shows up and stuff, and it's very
You're gonna see
insane.
a lot more elites, and then it can go anywhere down to the third world, where you're gonna
Hmm.
see basically the same practices, just done in less secretive manners. So it's like, yeah, if the elite, if the people on this planet that are considered the smartest, the most wealthy, the most efficient, blah 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 blah.
Hmm.
Um, if they take this stuff that seriously, we better take it seriously too. And
Hmm. And
it
that's
just it yeah, it's kind of like thinking it's like when you realize that there really are people that are sacrificing others to the devil in this world, and it starts to occur to some people like the devil's got to be real because there's nothing natural about doing this stuff. Like normal people could not do this. This is something you have to be like you have to literally be demon possessed to
mhm.
do this shit. So,
Alfarius says ball worshippers. Exactly. The whole
yeah.
Balenciaga thing happening. Uh, that's straight up demonic shit.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
that sort of stuff, like the blood consumption, blood sacrifices, child sacrifices, that all stemmed from the fallen angels producing the hybrids and the Nephilim. The Nephilim were a violent people who introduced that stuff to the world, and that's why God flooded the world, is because that sort of stuff was becoming the norm, not only with the acts and the rituals and stuff like that, but it was actually corrupting the genome.
Yeah. Well, and these creatures hate us. We're
Yeah.
in the image of the guy that kicked them out of their home for being pieces of shit. He kicked them out of their real estate. He said, "You don't get to come up here no more. You don't get to be a
Hmm.
part of this." No wonder they hate us. Everywhere they look, the face of God is everywhere. They're stuck on earth. They're stuck with. They don't have to just see God now. They have to see
Hmm.
8 billion little versions of God just running around. Yes, it infuriates them. Yes, they love seeing baby version of God killed. They're disgusting creatures and they influence disgusting people.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, on that happy note, let's continue the article. What's up,
Oh yeah,
Batman?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we were getting too excited about that stuff. But yeah, back to what the article says. Like, and that's what I enjoyed when I interviewed Doug TeNapel. Um, is just confirming that idea of, like, back in the 90s and early 2000s, is that you had the opportunity to go with the craziness, even if it didn't work or not, sort of thing. And you didn't have to worry about stuff being inserted to showcase and inform people of a certain ideology and political message that you need to accept. You can find the show Bible for Batman the Animated Series online if you do a quick search. It unsurprisingly contains references to a darker look and tone and a hard-edged crime drama, as well as directing writers to avoid tongue-in-cheek campiness. And while the three rules that Burnett mentions don't appear explicitly in the Bible, the whole thing is basically a manual for protecting against everything that almost drove Batman out of the mainstream in the mid 20th century. And then it kind of goes on to say that there was the bending of the rule that could be found in Batman the Animated Series, like Clayface and a werewolf and the ape man, apparently. Uh,
Well, I mean, kind of, but that's like
mhm,
that. Those characters still stay within the rules. If that makes
mhm.
sense.
Yeah, no. Well, I know Chaos said a while up, Nolan's uh, Christopher Nolan's Batman took it too far. Um,
I just
I'm,
think Christopher Nolan's Batman's boring and lame.
I mean, Nolan's Batman, yes. I liked Heath Ledger's Joker. I think what Nolan did succeed at is really being able to see these characters exist in our world. Um, but when it comes to obviously comics and like superheroes and stuff like that, you need to expect you need that a lot of that stuff is magic or is not real sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's I think we are due for almost like a Tim Burton Batman, where like that sort of insanity, like that was very comic influence, to where like we know for a fact that that does not exist anywhere on this earth, sort of thing.
Yeah.
We almost need to go back and bring that back to an extent. Now, if you're trying to make like for example, the Cowboy Bebop Netflix series, a lot of crap that they did wrong on that sort of thing. But I think that could have been a good opportunity to go more of Nolan's direction of, if you're trying to convince us that this universe exists, then you need to go more realistic with that sort of thing. And what they tried to do is they tried to blend the anime with that realistic, and it just came off looking like hot garbage, and not minus the whole SJW bullshit that was fisted inside of there. Like the prime example for me was like Faye Valentine's outfit. Everyone bitched about how it wasn't from the anime. Yeah. But that was one of the things where everyone else had the outfit correct from the anime, not her. And it's like, well, make it one or the other, as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you want to make it more of a simplistic sort of choice, that showcases or nods to the anime, go that route. Don't try to go in between. And that's kind of what I've also think of with this live Yu Yu Hakusho is going to look like garbage, because now it just looks like, and I said it before, it looks like a fucking cosplay fan film.
The biggest problem that these studios have is at least in the modern day, is we've seen everyone's fucking interpretations and blah blah blah. I'm sick of seeing what other people think something should be. The fans already know what something should be. There's always one part of something that is the most popular and holds the most sway because it's universally considered the best time period or the best season in a show or the best part of like Berserk with the Golden Age. Everyone loves the Golden Age as the best arc in Berserk. Um, just stop changing these things. We don't want it changed. We just want to see the exact same cartoon done with humans in a live action situation. It's like Disney always screwing up their live action movies, and they're always awful. Like no one wanted Beauty and the Beast. Here's a hot new take. We just literally wanted you to take the animated film from the early 90s and make it live action, frame for frame, character for character. We had zero interest in it deviating even the slightest bit. Same thing with so much of the stuff. It's like you guys are doing things you don't need to do and that nobody wants and that nobody asked for. And it's because you can't just live with the fact that there's people out there that created this and got it right the first time and did it better than you could ever dream of.
And the funniest thing,
it's really insulting to the source material. It's like
absolutely.
I'm gonna have to guard death my whole life unless someone will give me a contract where it says, I have every single bit of control over every single bit of this because you can't trust anyone now. Now, if it's a rando idea I don't care about, sure, I'll sell it off for some money. I don't give a shit. But there are certain things in this world you just can't mess with. It's never going to go well because of the utter disrespect for the people that made it popular in the first place.
And what you said about that, Joe, is with the whole frame for frame, like literally a recreating of it just in live action, that will sell. Like, I don't know if these companies realize that it will sell
Oh,
because,
the big gangbusters. People will rant and rave how it's awesome and great because that's all they
yeah,
want.
yeah, they will sell, and that's the most hilarious things. Like, you literally don't have to do anything except have the budget to recreate, like what you said, the animation with live action, with hopefully decent CG and characters and actors that look exactly like their animation counterpart. And you already have the script written. Don't need to write the script. Do it again, and it will sell. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, or at least stay so close that it's not offensive. And I don't mean in like an SJW way. I mean like I'm a fan that's sank, tons of money and time in my life into this particular
Hmm.
IP. Just treat it with a little fucking respect. I mean, that's why I hate the Transformers movies to this day. They just they have no relevance. And I'm not saying the source material is even that good. I consider the toys the source material, not the cartoon. Um, so I get you can't go buy a cartoon intended for like the 6-year-old boys that was just not good to begin with. Like it had some good story arcs and interesting stuff and some good morals, but it wasn't technically good. So I get that there's some things you have to kind of work your way through, but like when you change it so much that it doesn't even resemble what it was supposed to be, when the characters are so out of character, they don't even resemble who they are supposed to be. Um, when you've got anime voice actors in America trying to change the words to fit political agendas so that the character is now so far gone from anything they were supposed to be. It's an endless list of stupid shit they do and dumb mistakes they keep making.
Oh.
And they're mad at us for not liking it when it's like, we told you we would not like it. We've been going through this for fucking years now. You know what is up. Stop playing dumb and get with the program. Either make these things right or stop making them or stop complaining when we tell you it sucked. Or it's like it's I don't even like I get tired of even talking about it, and that's why I'm being feisty right now because this is shit me and a thousand upon thousands of other people have been saying for years, and we're making it clear. We're not sugarcoating it. We're not chicks trying to send you hints and signals with our faces that are hard to comprehend and understand. We are being as blunt as a human can be with these people, and it's utterly ridiculous.
I like Feisty Joe.
Well, dude, it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting, and they don't realize like you're not you're not pushing us away so much with your crappy products. You're exhausting us with your bullshit so much that we're leaving just because of that. Your movie could be great, but when your staff can't even go do an interview with Access Hollywood and not act like complete fucking retards the entire time and snobs and weirdos, at least go back to the old days where you guys hid your behavior, hid your
Yeah,
stupidity because you knew it
exactly.
would not fly. You know why Catholic priests have to hide when they do something naughty to a kid? Because they know their base will not stand for that shit. You know why liberals say it out in the open and will drag a little child around a drag show with people that are borderline nude and sticking money on them? Because they know their base doesn't care. Because they know their base are a bunch of sick fucking weirdo pedophiles, and our base is not. And it applies to movies, it applies to music, it applies to church, it applies to who you go vote for, during election time. It's frustrating, it's exhausting. I'm sick of having to run this stuff through my mind all the time. And I'm not necessarily encouraging people to lie. I'm just saying have enough shame to know that there a time will come when this stuff will not be put up with on a level that none of us really want to see or deal with. So just get your shit together. We don't want to
Mm.
have to be the bad guys all the time, but you're pushing us into corners where we have no option.
Yeah, you keep poking the bear and it's gonna maul your face.
Yeah. Yeah. Respect. It's here's the thing. I can look at a lion, and that lion can be a beautiful, majestic animal. But if I put my head near its mouth, it's gonna bite my fucking head off. So just,
Yeah.
just have a little respect for the strength and the restraint of the people around you. We're trying as hard as we can to be respectful of your borderline mentally ill pedophilic life choices as long as you leave people alone. But you weirdos won't. And on top of that, you won't even make a good fucking movie.
Nico
So
Nika
come on.
says, "Preach, Joe."
Yeah.
Chaos
It's
says,
intolerable.
Chaos says, "How about never make a piece of entertainment again?" But yeah, I mean, certain people shouldn't be allowed to make entertainment again. I think
They should
we
be in
just need
prison.
to. What's up?
Yeah, most of those people should be in prison too. Yeah,
Yes,
they should
very
not
true.
be making entertainment. They should not be doing anything that involves contact with other normal, rational, decent human beings. They should be locked away or the other option. There's two. I think you guys can figure it out. So, um,
A bake-off.
but like the guy that made Jeepers Creepers, like he's gotten busted so many times and he just keeps getting off the hook. He'll even serve a little time occasionally, and a judge will be like, the pedophile hasn't really been mean to the other inmates. We'll let him out on good behavior. It's like, well, of course not. He preys on children. You think he's going to really be getting in fucking prison fights in the yard every day? No, he's not a tough person. He's a sick, demented weirdo that preys on the most defenseless creatures on this planet, short of animals. So, give me a
Alfarius,
break.
Alfarius says, "Razor Fist. Hollywood was also red." Enough said. And then Joe channeling his inner Joe McCarthy.
Yep.
You all right over there?
Yeah. I'm just trying to herb myself back to calmness real quick.
I get you. Well, I mean, I have some other articles pulled up here.
What you got, brother? Let's see what we got.
All right. Well, I do have the bounding into comics Indiana Jones thing. This was apparently because I thought I said like the director, because there was leaks coming around saying that, oh, it's all about time travel. The recent trailer just dropped and everyone's saying, yep, he's going to get replaced. And the director keeps saying that, no, it's not going to happen. And now apparently he actually is, because I think something leaked and he got super mad. So Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny director James Mangold calls leakers trolling a-holes, claims rumors Indiana Jones will be replaced are not true. Big fucking X to doubt on that one. So director James Mangold took to Twitter to bash scoopers and respond to rumors that Indiana Jones will be replaced by actress Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I'm assuming that's her. Rumors regarding Indiana Jones being replaced by Phoebe Waller-Bridge's characters in the upcoming film go back to June 2021 when YouTuber Overlord DVD reported 2 endings are supposedly being considered in the script. I guess they've been writing and they are going to shoot both of them. Both endings allegedly have old Indiana Jones dying at the end of this movie. But in one of the rumored endings, young Indiana Jones dies alongside old Indiana Jones, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge swoops in like a vulture, picks the hat up, and takes his place moving forward. Oh, man.
It's bad enough this is all they could come up with to replace Indy. It's like, you guys, look, you can replace a character. You can do some of these things, but you have to do it well. You have to do it at a high level. If you have to use time travel and stupid shit like that only works in things that have names such as the time machine, where that's the premise of the whole story intentionally from the get-go, this is not what Indiana Jones is. And I guarantee you, if this doesn't happen, something very close to it will. They'll try to rearrange the movie or edit it or chop it in a manner where they're like, we'll just trick people, and then at the end we'll do all that shit we said we weren't gonna do. It happens without fail every time. So
well, what
this
you were
is
getting at,
gonna
Joe.
be a trash pile, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And what you were getting at, Joe, is there's a huge difference between passing the torch and retconning everything so that your version of Indiana Jones is the superior one, or is the one that when we think of Indiana Jones, that's who we need to think of. One, it ain't gonna happen. Two, you can, like, I think a lot of fans honestly would probably be decent with the concept of passing the torch, but it's like what you were saying. It's how you pass the torch and who you're passing the torch to. If you're passing the torch just because she's a strong woman, think again, because that's makes no sense in the sense of, oh yeah, like we have, it's Indiana Jones, except it's the female Indiana Jones. And look at us, we have female Indiana Jones with male Indiana Jones, and male Indiana Jones is dying or what have you. But luckily we have female Indiana Jones. Like if it's just there, it's like that's just bad writing.
Oh yeah, you don't have. It's like, look, you guys. There's no continuity of Indy having a daughter that maybe at some point he took with him and they went on adventures. Like if there was some lore kind of built in or something where you could conceivably go, okay, they'll have to treat her different. Like she's not going to be able to have like fist fights with like five dudes at once. But Indy kind of got out of some situations by being smart and shifty, not always with his muscle, even though he could have like a saloon throwdown, like an old western.
Mm-hmm.
So you like that's what's so frustrating is it's like, dude, Kill Bill exists, you idiots. You have a high standard to live up to. You can have a movie where a chick fights 80 Asian dudes, the crazy 88 off, dices every one of them into pieces, and guess what? I suspended to belief the whole time. I had no question that Uma Thurman could dice those dudes up.
Mm-hmm.
But Indiana Jones is kind of like based in the real world with a touch of fantasy because of the ancient relics and the things of that nature that kind of give it a little spice and a little mystery. You can still have a girl be indie. Just don't the what we're getting right now. We know is just not going to be cool. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be insulting. It's going to be like when Yoda told Luke to just burn all the books, and then they tried to spin it as, well, he was trying to tell Luke to put the past behind him. No, he wasn't. Disney was trying to tell me forget about the good stuff and only acknowledge our lame generic attempt of Star Wars, which granted, there's a few things they've done right. I don't want to completely act as if none of it's good, but the ratio to good to bad is so off that I'm not going to notice the good long term because I'm being fed more bad than good. So it's like it's all these little things that they're not taking into account, or if they are taking into account, they're 100% ignoring it, intentionally trying to spite the fans, and then complaining and pointing fingers at the fans when their whole goal was to spite them. We see so many times people that work at Disney, work at Marvel, work at all these huge companies and or even smaller studios that just got their thing picked up by a huge company being snarky about how happy they are that the hardcore fan base is annoyed. And it's like, why though? Like, why would you want the people that have kept this product relevant for 30 years to be annoyed? I don't understand that. Like, it's just
Is it?
bad customer service, even. You know what I mean? Like, when people,
Yeah.
if I have someone hit me up about a return for death, it's rare, but it happens occasionally. Generally, I even when they explain themselves because it's just a life emergency or this or that and they need to get money back as soon as possible, I never ask them why. I just do it. And I say thanks anyway. Like I'm very polite about it. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
Disney, is that so hard? If I can humble myself for people I don't know but were willing to spend money on me, you guys can do it too. In fact, you should be doing it 10 times harder than I could ever dream of
Mm-hmm.
because you're in a position where it's you have a bigger role in this world. So
Yeah,
it's it's irritating.
it's because they just don't give a shit. they really they really don't. And when because they've built it up to the point where any sort of even what you saying, Joe, like something that's just as simple as good customer service is some sort of weakness or some sort of caving into the self-declared wrong side, and they can't do that. Sumo said Joe choked himself out.
Yeah.
That was back when you were coughing. They thought it was going to be so stunning and brave that they switched him out with a female when we knew that was going to happen the whole time. Nico's relatives were among the crazy 88. Sumo says nobody complained that Laura Croft was female. They act like the
Nope.
audience won't accept a female lead when it's clear we have in the past. Just make it a good story. Oh, Melanie
Yeah.
Mack like went ham with Laura Croft or Lara Croft or however you want to pronounce it. But yeah, they're even with the new Lara Croft. I mean, Melanie pointed out the fact that like they're making her bland. She even pointed out about with the new Dead Space remake, the female one of the female characters in there, they're like aging them. Like this idea of a woman being sexy in a video game can't happen anymore. They have to be made old for some weird ass reason.
Well, it's weird too because it's like some of these characters weren't even built to be intentionally attractive, but as an artist or creator, they still tried to give them some like physical redeeming quality that could be fun or cute. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like every single girl character in pop culture that's been popular has had giant tits. There's plenty of anime characters that are girls that are built very small. You know, they're not super curvy. They might be tall and lanky, but they're not a stereotypical like, you know, American bombshell. And they're hugely popular. You can find millions of people cosplaying them, boys and girls. Fruity boys, but who cares? That's not the point. The point is these things have crossover popularity, and even the people they think they're catering to, even the liberals they think they're catering to, I hate to break it to them, when it comes to anime and manga, your political affiliations really don't even matter much because I know ultra liberals that love anime and manga, and when the SJW stuff came to their hobby, they they went right into defense mode because they seen what happened to other hobbies. They kind of learned it through video games when it started to affect things there, even though it wasn't like deep in the gaming yet. It was stuff you could see coming out of the like mainstream source community and the devs and the people that worked at the companies were like, even though it hadn't quite like, 2013, 14, like it hadn't manifested itself a
Mm-hmm.
100% in games yet, but you could look on Twitter and see these people basically begging to do this kind of stuff. So you knew it was coming eventually if they literally would not let up on everything being turned into a social justice message. And for that matter, stuff they're not even involved in. They don't even care about. It's just they've been virtue signaling since it first got hip. you know, we're all behind. You're in Texas, I'm in Ohio, I'm in the Midwest. Everything that happens in California don't reach me till 3.5 years later. Um, so
Ugh.
they've been virtue signaling since before it was cool, and they've done it to a point to where we just don't trust them with anything. Sorry, you can tell me, no, we're not doing that with Indiana Jones. Sorry, I don't trust you. It's
Yeah.
there's this thing
Excellent.
called pattern recognition, and after
Yeah.
it happens twice, I really start paying attention a lot more.
Alfaria says, make your own. Hell, use Tia Carrera and reboot Relic Hunter. It was a massive popular in the late 90s and early 2000s. Chaos says they hate beauty. Yeah, I don't. Sex sells, but not like 60-year-olds. Sorry. It's a little beyond the.
Trying to change the idea of what beauty is. They're saying that's not beautiful. This is. It's like you're never going to convince people. People might lie to soothe you, so you'll go away and leave them alone. Those people
Mhm.
aren't being honest with you. It's not. It's like there is beauty in old age. There is beauty in different things, but they have to twist it and warp it in ways that no normal person looks at it like that. We say, "Oh, she's aging gracefully. Oh, what a nice old lady." If it's literally a grandma, just fucking treat them the way they're supposed to be treated. They're not supposed to be treated like a 20-year-old because they're not fucking 20 years old.
Nico says, I mean, flat chest is a thing in Japan. No one should be an olive oil. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, yeah, olive oil is just literally like a noodle with some noodle legs and
A
noodle arms
plank.
attached. Yeah.
SJWs aren't going to be what kills anime and manga. ESG is. Can't sell internationally if you aren't PC and woke enough, though Japan does have their issues with communists and Westerners pushing politics. Yeah, I mean, we can only hope that it's one of the things where, with the companies over here to where they're all, in the orgy together. So money doesn't matter to them. At least I'm hoping with Japan and stuff like that, where money talks in the sense of why aren't people buying our products, and you go to the source and you try to find what the source of the reason why is, and the source is, well, they're getting pissed off that this is being inserted into the thing. Hopefully that would do something. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing, and I know everyone, due to the patterns of the last few years and because we've seen so many hobbies get infested and ruined, like literally within weeks in some cases. Um,
Hmm.
None of those situations involve Japanese people except manga, anime, and some video games. Because most Japanese have no problem being like, we don't care what the rest of you guys do with our shit. We're
Hmm.
concerned with Japanese people.
Yeah.
And you'll hear that a lot. And I respect that their core focus is like, no, it's our people at home, not everywhere else. We make stuff that Japanese people would love. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. That's what we're always going to do. And while money does talk, people don't understand with them the room for error, and that they're not going to go ask a bank to keep bailing them out. They're just going to keep firing people until they go out of business if that's how it's going to go. They have a responsibility level that's 100% different. And yeah, there's some corruption, some bad things happen in Japanese business, no doubt, 100%. But it's different than ours. Ours is like literally disgusting, corrupt people trying to corrupt everything. Over
Hmm.
there, it's one guy that took like $2,000 from the company and didn't pay it back and jumped out of a window because of it, when he could have probably just like taken the fact that he got fired and moved on with life like you would in the States. You get a slap on the wrist from the legal system and you move on and try to forget. Over there, it don't work that way. So
Hmm.
if the responsibility level is different, it's why so many people are getting involved in politics over there, artists specifically and creators specifically, is just to fight this stuff and make sure that by law these things cannot affect them. And I think it's really slick. I kind of admire it because in our country, artists are not built for that shit. Most of us are not interested in arguing all the time. We're not interested in bickering all the time. We just want to be left alone to draw our stupid pictures
Yeah.
and make a little money at the same time. Over there, they run for Congress and Senate to make sure, their versions, to make sure that manga is always protected, to make sure that their video game is protected and it's going to be protected for life and nobody can touch it. And they take strides that we just don't over here. And you have to admire them for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
Based.
it's not super cool to do either. That's the thing. If you survey the Japanese kids, they've done this plenty of times. You can find a lot of numbers on this stuff. Like Japanese young folks, I'd say up to age like nearly into their 30s, have literally like zero concern over anything political. Like it
Mhm.
annoys them just at the thought of it. It's kind of like when you're 8 years old and the news is on and you just feel like you're going to tear your fucking hair out because why do we got to sit here and watch the news at grandpa's house? Like, let's
Oh
turn on something good.
man, I wish
They're
I
like that.
had that
Yeah.
mindset.
Politics is literally for old people. Like that's how they look at it. Like you're being a fuddy duddy if you even bring it up. So that now they're getting involved. It's
Ah,
the difference here. We don't. We just, and I'm not going to act like I'm above any of it. I'm not going to go run for Congress tomorrow. I'm not going to try to get involved in that world. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't even have any representation, real
yeah,
representation. So,
absolutely. Well, let's see what else do we got here on old indie. So, an anonymous source told the Daily the Daily Mail, show business editor Katie Hind about the rumor. It would be a huge statement and a great role for Phoebe. Another source stated the gossip on the set is that this character will slot into the leading role. With the release of the first trailer from the film, as well as the film's title, Mangold responded to a Twitter user referencing the rumors from Overlord DVD. And a now deleted tweet.
Shocker.
Oh man, you got to leave it up. The user wrote, well, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny looks amazing, James Mangold. But if Indy dies and is erased from existence with Phoebe Waller-Bridge taking over, then you won't hear the end of it, sir. He added, I hope the Doomcock dude is wrong. Just have Indy and Marion retire. Mangold replied, one more time. No one is taking over or replacing Indy or donning his hat, nor is he being erased through some contrivance. And he never was. No, not in any cut or script. But trolls will troll. That's how they get their clicks.
It's not a troll, though. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
It's not a troll, though. Like, the guy's not troll. Like, that's the thing. They always try to spin it as you're just being a troll. It's like, no, it's just we've seen this happen 1,000 times, and this leak sounds.
They always do. Like they'll take that and then hijack it and be like, well, this is what troll now means. Anyone that disagrees with me, it's like, gosh, someone just needs to go in ham. Just go in ham on these people. Maybe I should. I don't know if that'd be the Jesus thing to do. It'd be funny though.
I don't know. Jesus got pretty uptight a few times.
Very true. I would go ham though.
I heard at the end of the book he sends a bunch of people to eternal torture. I mean, he's nice, but when he's pissed, he's really pissed. So
yeah, but I would like swoop in there and be like, light the fuck up, fag, sort of thing.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. But with Elon on Twitter, I guess supposedly all the heinous things from what I hear from these people, that Twitter is just a cesspool of alt-right craziness.
Never-ending hate speech. I mean, hate speech just it's off the hook.
It's off the chain.
Yep.
As Meatwad would say.
Yeah. Oh, that's off the chains.
Oh, here we go. Mangold apparently explains what the difference between trolling is. He continued, and please don't exhaust me pointing out how once in a while a troll is, quote, right. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then. Do you have any nuts? Probably not. All one has to do is look at a set photo and interviews, and you get enough info to make wild guesses about a movie plot. The difference between trolling a-holes and everyone else is they are trying to make money off of your feelings about other films and culture war politics. Are you? Oh my gosh! Are you fucking kidding me?
Isn't that what they do though? They're trying to make money off of
exactly what they do. Oh my gosh! The self-awareness of these bozos are amazing. I love it. It's so. My gosh.
So Hollywood are the troll. Actually, this is all making sense. I'm having a moment of clarity here. Greg, you want to hear my moment of clarity?
Yes.
Okay, listen to this, chat. This might shock you because it's going to sound a little abnormal, but just stick with me on it. It'll all make sense. We all say the left can't meme, correct? Because they can't. They give us these diatribe paragraphs. The left can't meme.
Mm-hmm.
What better meme or troll is there than to put out Captain Marvel and make $100 billion off of it? That's about as trolly as it gets. I think they might be the greatest trolls ever, and we need to turn the troll table on them. I mean, they've been trolling us with video games, and I mean, literally, if that's the definition of the troll, what he's saying, then that literally makes them the top trolls on planet Earth. Maybe they need to seize the mantle. Take it from us. Take the word from us. Take it back. Just like we're the what they call the Trump supporters, the deplorables. Yeah, we took on the deplorable. We are the deplorable. Yeah, you shall now redeem your status, Hollywood, as the biggest trolls on planet Earth.
I'm trying to find the meme where it's how it's like how left's meme and how the right meme, and it's the Disney symbol that says the left can't meme, and it says this is how the right memes, and then it goes this is how the left memes, and it's just taking the right's meme and crossing out the word left and adding like very poorly written in Paint in like Microsoft Paint the right meme. That's dang it,
Oh
I
man.
can't find it. I know I'm probably on my phone somewhere, but let's see. The amount Chaos says the amount of N words that exploded on Twitter made me laugh too. See, I don't know where that is. I never saw any of that. I never saw that
I
on
saw
Twitter.
some, but the weird part was it was like people that would never say it generally that were
Hmm.
like, "So are we allowed to say N word?" But they would like say it out, and I was just like, "Wow, that's surprising." Are they just trying to make it seem like the N word's all over the place, knowing that they're liberals and no one will say anything to them? I was just shocked by some of the people I did see it by. I was just shocked because you wouldn't think they would even utter it in that context. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Nico says, "Yeah, left meme not in jokes, but in reality. There's a reason
Yeah.
Ken Akamatsu became a politician and other mangaka spoke out about the mouthy Westerners pushing for censorship." Yep. All right. To continue Mangold's wonderful explanation of what trolls are, the difference between trolling a-holes and everyone else is they are trying to make money off of your feelings about other films and culture war politics. They push controversial guesses as coming from, quote, sources to gin up clicks. Let it go, end, he concluded. This isn't the first time Mangold has responded to rumors regarding Indiana Jones being replaced by Phoebe. In the middle of November, Mangold responded to rumors about disastrous test screenings, claiming that there had not been any test screenings at all. So then we're just getting into stuff. But apparently, yeah, he's getting really butthurt over it. He further claimed that rumors regarding Phoebe Waller-Bridge replacing Indiana Jones were not true. He then specifically addressed Overlord DVD's rumors, telling one user, "It's up to you." Oh, here we go. "It's up to you who you believe. An anonymous troll named Basement Dwell in Doomcock or the actual director of the film." He added, "No one will ever replace Indiana Jones. Not in any script, not in any cut, never discussed."
I don't know if anyone
However,
told him.
what's up?
Film directors aren't. I don't know if anyone's ever told this guy, but like Hollywood film directors aren't really known for their wide moral compass and good behavior. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we listen to some guy named Doomcock, even though he's wrong 90% of the time. We're not stupid. We know that he's a lolcow at this point. Um, we listen to other people because at least they're entertaining, making fun of your stupid shit that's not entertaining that you're now yelling at us about preemptively. It's
Ooh.
it's so ridiculous.
According to this article, apparently Mangold has been known for lying when it comes to Indiana Jones. Back in July 2021, Mangold got caught lying about degrading YouTuber Matthew Kadish, who expressed his concerns about Indiana Jones on Twitter. Kadish wrote, "To anyone thinking Indiana Jones 5 might be good, just let me point out, 1, Steven Spielberg is not directing. 2, Kathleen Kennedy is producing. 3, Harrison Ford is 78 years old. 4, it's written by Jonathan Kasdan, who wrote Solo." Mangold responded, "Thanks, Matt. 1, keep making the world a better place, crapping on things in the first week of production from your basement. 2, never seen a script by John, nothing against him, just reality. Butterworths and I started from a blank page." Wait, the guy's name is actually Butterworths? Dude, change it. 3, 1 to 3. Wait, what? 1 to 3 are hugely talented and all at my side. He went on to describe Kadish as a clickbaiter and nightcrawler. He wrote, "Thanks, Axe. I don't mind people griping and prognosticating, but on my watch, false info, ageism, and snark from so-called journalists is going to be confronted directly and forcefully." And then less than a month after this exchange, he would take to Twitter again, writing, I never said people who criticize me live in a basement. People criticize me all the time and don't get such comments. Okay, so he just backtracked. And I have said I am sorry if in my anger I spoke too broadly. Nah, you spoke the truth. You got pissed off because you probably got called
He
out.
told us how he really felt, and that's fine. Tell us how you guys really feel. It's a-okay. Yeah, it's not good customer service.
Hey, your
Yeah,
boy
it's
Yellow
better.
Flash got mentioned in this article.
Oh,
Not only is Mangold willing to lie about something this minor, YouTuber Yellow Flash notes, we've seen this before. We see it with Kevin Smith and Clownfish TV. Clownfish TV came out and said He-Man's barely in it and he's not going to be the main hero. That's going to be Tila. And Kevin Smith was like, I wrote or supervised the script and directed it. Anybody knows it's me, and that's not true. He-Man is a major part of the story, or whatever he said. I don't remember the exact quote, but basically he was lying. And guess what? Clownfish TV got vindicated, he stated. And then there's a post to his video, to Yellow Flash's video. Good job, Yellow Flash. You did it. Yellow Flash then notes he lost all of his credibility because of that show. The same is going to happen to you if this is fake, James Mangold. The YouTuber then opined, but the reason he's out there making these kind of tweets is because of the fact that, well, there's a lot of credibility that this is true, and that trailer confirmed it. Ooh, nice. And then they ended it. That was the end of the article. Yellow Flash cleaning out the trash, taking out the trash. Nice.
oh man.
Wow, that was a long article, but that was all that just to get to just laugh at the directors just getting super butthurt of like, yeah, you're probably going to do it. No, I'm not. Oh, well, want to put money on it?
Well, it's like we're not trying to irritate them, but they are trying to irritate us. Like I don't understand why they don't see this. It's like we're not going out of our way to irritate you. We just have pattern recognition. And that's the pattern is you've been going out of your way to annoy us for years and years. It's not just a every once in a while thing where it's like, oh, that movie wasn't so good. Usually they do good. People were watching not the Thanos Marvel movie, and we're probably like, oh hell yeah, in game. And then by the time they got to Thor: Love and Thunder, they were like, yeah, I don't know. I think it was funny. Like it's
I,
just it's wearing thin.
I almost believe Doomcock never again. I've heard of Doomcock. I'm not really familiar with him. Is it even worth knowing?
Not really. Basically, his locale thing is what he's known for is he constantly says Kathleen Kennedy's gonna quit or be fired at any minute, but he's been doing this for like years.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like just a joke at this point. Like I think he kind of because he just rolls with things and just continues to have fun. Nobody cares at this point. Like it's not a negative that he's wrong. It's part of the joke of his character at this point.
Alfaria says Doom and most of EFAP are lolcows. Doesn't mean they can't
Yeah.
be right occasionally. I mean, if Chris Chan told me the sky was blue, I'd believe him.
Yeah,
Then
they
Nico
do
says,
occasionally get some stuff right. I don't want to sound completely dismissive.
"What's up?" I missed that first part.
I said they do some stuff right, so I don't want to, or get some things right. So I don't want to come off completely dismissive. I'm just speaking in general.
Oh, I didn't. I thought you were fine. I just half of these things. I mean, I browse the internet, but I don't super browse it. So a lot of this is like new to me and stuff like that. So I'm like, who's that? And then it's like, oh, is it worth my time? Sort of thing.
Well, it's weird because in the early days of Comicsgate, a lot of these people came through Comicsgate to some degree before they went on to have their own followings. So
Mm-hmm.
like I've had this weird luxury of like kind of running into and meeting a lot of people in the YouTube world that if there was no Comicsgate, I wouldn't know who 90% of them are. I might know who like five or six of them are just because they're comic book artists. But the bulk of it's like I remember Doomcock from around like 2017 era, and talking to him and a lot of other guys around the kind of that floated between CG and Fandom Menace and all these little like subsect uh, niche uh, genre specific or movie specific kind of audiences. It's kind of like Tug came out of Comicsgate, and his early videos was so much of him looking at like the stocks and the numbers and the sales figures of like comic book publishers and kind of
Hmm.
breaking it down and showing it all to you to just show like how bad things really were and the ways they tried to like cover it up through like sleazy tactics like just getting more capital pumped into the company last minute from somewhere else to make it look like they turned profits on things that they didn't. Like it was always some alternate method. He was just really good at that stuff. And now I'd say like almost everyone knows him more from like Johnny Depp and other
Hmm.
people of relevance he's kind of talked about or looked into far more than the way I found and met Tug, which it was cool too because I've known a lot of these guys when they were like I don't want to say lower on the totem pole. They just didn't have the audience size yet.
Yeah.
So it was like way easier to kind of like get to know people back then because we were all just kind of like more normal and friendly. And now that they've got status and they have to get like Looney Tune DMs every day from God knows who, and they just don't talk about it, but it happens constantly. Now it gets harder to be friendly with everybody when you're in that position. So like I kind of
Yeah.
caught a break in the fact that I was there with a lot of them and we worked and did stuff together so early on that it's like they are more trustworthy than these Hollywood directors. They just are. I don't care if you're working on the movie or not. That doesn't obscure you from lying. And the guys
Hmm.
that are bringing this to you will self-admit, yeah, we get some stuff right, we get some stuff wrong, but here's literally how this looks. Like, how are we supposed to think anything otherwise? This is what you've given us to work with. If we weren't supposed to have the impression from these script leaks and from this trailer stuff that this is how it was going to go, you did a bad job of showing us that.
Not to mention the fact that, like, at the end of the day, like, really, are you gonna like the whole? Are you gonna trust the director, sort of thing? Like, at the end of the day, like the producer can come in and go, I'm the one giving you the money. You're doing it like this, sort of
Yep,
thing. So it really
100%
doesn't
correct.
matter because if the producer has
Listen,
a specific idea and a way they want to do it, they're gonna get their way because they're the ones providing the money.
I listened to Tim Burton once do this like it wasn't like your typical Hollywood interview. It was more like talk shop type stuff. And a common question he obviously gets is why didn't come back and do another Batman, being how successful the first two were.
Hmm.
And it wasn't like he was denigrating the movies like they weren't what he wanted to do 100%. And some of his ideas were pretty rad. And I'm not even the biggest Tim Burton fan. I think he just gets how Batman should be,
Hmm.
at least in the 90s. So he said the biggest problem was he was always having to go to like multiple meetings a day, all the time, to talk with all these different people from all these different industries that were getting licenses to slap Batman on everything. And we're like, we don't want this, we want that. Here's our concerns. Here's this. So he was having to sit there and try to be like, how do I write a movie where everyone gets, and this was more towards Batman Returns. This wasn't as big an issue on the first Batman. That was so popular. Obviously, the merchandising was going to be even more through the roof for the second one. And I
Hmm.
was like, yeah, who would want to sit there and listen to assholes from Colgate tell you how to make your movie because of like because they get to put Batman's face on their toothpaste. Like at a certain point, it's like it's just too much. And you get why, even though these guys did good work and we hold their movies in high regard and they're very fond in our memories, like why of course they wouldn't want to come back for a third one. Like this is the kind of shit you gotta put up with outside of everything else. Outside of filming, keeping egos in check and actors on course and things functioning on sets and all the crazy stuff Burton would do. It's it's surprising anyone wants to put up with it. There's a reason they get paid a lot, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man, I could not imagine just sitting in those meetings every day. just listening, like, well, we are concerned about this. And you're just like sitting there, just in one ear, out the other. Like, oh my gosh, I just want to direct a movie.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah. That's
see.
and for him too. It sucks because it's like I experienced this on a very like micro scale way of what he experienced, and it was you have something you love, and you're in a kind of a dream position where yeah, he'd already worked for Disney for like ever, like in the animation department, the concept department. Like he'd already been, pretty high up, and not director high up, but pretty well in the mix. Had a permanent job at Disney for nearly probably 20 years, 15 years at that point. And the dude got the dream project of Batman, and it got ruined by a bunch of stuff that really had nothing to do with Batman. It was just things that weren't necessary to complain about. Like when I owned shops, one of the things that was frustrating for me was there were things that I really liked and other fans really liked too, but like they didn't always know how to like be a fan without driving everyone else crazy around them. And they would ruin something for you. You'd be like, well, I
Mm,
like Transformers, but like this guy's just like annoying me with something I love. How is this happening? Like you can't conceive it because it's never happened thus far. It's like if you're really into some particular thing, go join like 10 Facebook groups related to that thing, and you'll quickly hate it within like
oh
a
yeah.
matter of 2 weeks if you really pay attention. So you have to like there's a weird line you have to draw where you got to find like other people that like what you like the same way you kind of like it to really
Yeah.
zoned in if you're gonna be like that and want to be involved. And he's like me where it's like, no, I don't want to focus on this stuff. I shouldn't even be putting up with this. I should literally be making a movie and you should be catering everything else around what I'm doing. It shouldn't be the other way around. So
Mhm.
yeah, why would you want to like you're on a dream project? Why would you how can you skip a third Batman movie? Easy. You work for Warner Brothers and they want to be sure that Batman's making the people that make toilet paper, napkins, and diapers happy as well. So
Uh, let's see. We got roughly 5 minutes till we've hit our 2 hour mark. I had a couple of other stuff open. One of them being apparently Walt Disney is attacking Christianity by altering the Epcot International Festival of the Holidays. That's based on the divinity of Christ.
what are they altering? Like what part of it?
So I was reading this one, and this one, like, there's a bunch of stuff talking about obviously woke and LGBT. Let me see if I can find the part. Like, it's actually quite infuriating. Uh, okay, I think this is here. Pull this up. Doop doop doop. This is also from Bounding into Comics. So it's very clear that the Walt Disney Company has been pushing an anti-Christian message for a number of years now and have made it very clear it is intentional. However, now they are specifically attacking the one true God, Jesus Christ, by altering the script for One Solitary Life as part of their Epcot International Festival of the Holidays, the Candlelight Processional. So the Candlelight Processional is described on their official website. Here, the stirring story of Christmas is told by a celebrity narrator at the Epcot International Festival of the Holidays. Further states each night a celebrity a celebrity narrator tells the story of Christmas, recounting the biblical tale of a savior born in Bethlehem. Woven into the production are stirring songs of hope and joy performed by the orchestra and massed choir. So a Disney insider, WDW Pro, correctly notes on Twitter that Disney attacks Christianity for Christmas by declaring in the official script that Jesus was simply a man. So in the past script for One Solitary Life, as read by some person, he is born in an obscure village, the child of a peasant woman. He grew up in still another village where he worked in a carpenter shop until he was 30. Then for 3 years He was an itinerant preacher. He never wrote a book. He never held an office. He never had a family or owned a house. He didn't go to college. He never visited a big city. He never traveled 2,000 or 200 miles from the place where he was born. He did none of the things that one usually associates with his greatness. He had no credentials but himself. It continued. He was only 33 when the tide of public opinion turned against him. His friends ran away. He was turned over to his enemies and went through a mockery of a trial. He was nailed to a cross between two thieves. While he was dying, his executioners gambled for his clothing, the only property he had on earth. When he was dead, he was laid in a borrowed grave through the pity of a friend. Oh my gosh. So 20 centuries have come and gone, and today he is considered by many to be the central figure of the human race and the leader of mankind's progress. All the armies that ever marched, all the navies that ever sailed, all the parliaments that ever sat, all the kings that ever reigned put together have not affected the life of men on this earth as much as that one solitary life. The script concludes.
I mean, there are parts that are not wrong. There are just parts that are obviously not right. I think the end there is like, I don't know how other people feel about the phrasing, but I don't think that's completely inaccurate. Like, I think that's kind of true. I don't think there is anybody in human history that has had an effect that Jesus Christ has. And I'm sure there's people that could debate it by all various metrics. But that's just a personal opinion.
Well, that was the original script.
Apparently. Oh, that's why it actually sounds kind of good.
Yeah. So in the new version of One Solitary Life, as read by Shang-Chi, oh my gosh, this bozo, Simu Liu, Disney rejects the divinity of Christianity. So he states, for all the miracles of Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace himself was simply a man, a human being, and he walked through this world in the most human way possible with love. He didn't have much, but what he did have, he shared, and it became plenty. Food, water, shelter, care. He met the world around him with empathy, saw hunger and shared the food from his plate, saw thirst and poured from them from his own cup, saw sickness and offered his time for their healing, soothed them with his human hands. Jesus Christ found it in his earthly heart to give of himself to the people who loved him and even the people who betrayed him, to all people, that a baby in a manger could grow up to become a man who taught a world of people what it means to love people. That is the spirit of this season, and it lives inside each and every one of us. The greatest joy of being human is to love one another, and when we share that love, that is the greatest gift of all.
Yeah, that's like super duper generic. That's like more weak and lame and generic than like a Hallmark movie where you could tell like the writer just never went to church in the first place and was just winging it.
This is what I get to. This is again.
It's insulting. It's intentionally insulting.
Yeah, it's and then the article goes on. Like these bozos have no idea what the hell they're talking about, and they should shut up about it. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll actually, I want to end on rather upbeat one. This one that you might be interested. Apparently there's an alien survivor horror game called Greyhill Incident is launching in 2023. And I thought it was interesting because with the whole Nephilim sort of thing and the Gray Men, it caught my interest.
What's the general premise of it?
Here it is, and it has a trailer too.
Okay.
So, it's a story-driven survival horror game about a classic alien invasion which takes place during the early 90s. As Ryan Baker, equipped with a baseball bat and a few bullets in his revolver, the story takes you across the atmospheric neighborhood of Greyhill, which is invaded by UFOs and gray aliens. It's the early 90s in the US. The media talks about weather balloons and conspiracy theories, but residents of the small neighborhood soon realize the government is lying. The recent increased paranormal activities over the last few days have convinced the Scared and now paranoid residents of Gray Hill that the government are somehow involved. They trust no one. The small neighborhood of Gray Hill are afraid to speak up, and fearing being sent to the psychiatric ward, they avoid calling the police. Although they prepare by boarding up their windows and founding a neighborhood watch, or alone, excuse me, comma, they prepare by boarding up their windows and founding a neighborhood watch. So apparently you go around the neighborhood, use items, solve puzzles, meet other neighbors, investigate and uncover the truth, and then, of course, run into the Greys. So they are trying to abduct things. So we have a trailer here. So caught my interest. So
It
I'm going to
sounds
watch it.
cool so far. Yeah.
Something very bad
Hopefully
is
it's not
happening!
too loud for people. Turn it down a little bit.
My dad says the government is lying about everything.
Well, he's right. But don't worry, though. I'll protect you.
Ryan, something is wrong with Joe Parson, the farmer, you know. He called me a few minutes ago. He was very afraid.
This movement that you'll see in a few seconds is just a reflection on the lens of the camera. There is no reason to concern.
This can't be our end. I don't want to end up as an alien experiment victim.
They put something in me.
And I looked,
Cold to the
and
touch.
behold,
In which barn? There's tons of them.
a stormy wind came out of the north. And you think he can secure you from the angels of God?
Father! Those aren't angels.
Oh, wow.
This is an alien invasion.
Great bastard.
Was that Brandon? What the fuck are they doing to him?
Nice.
I'm here!
Plastic.
Rachel!
No! No, Henry!
And don't forget to be aware of the small green man in your backyard. You're Mr. Broker.
They are gray.
Dang. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks spooky and fun.
I'm intrigued. That was awesome.
It's a good time period too, just because so much of that stuff was like,
Yeah.
like just pop culture wise, just everyone was into it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what caught me definitely was it says it was set in the 90s, and then just the lore about aliens and the gray men and stuff like that. And it's interesting because looks like they did their research, because a lot of people who said that they saw aliens look like that, like wearing the black suits.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the big almond black shaped eyes and stuff. I liked how they definitely liked how they made the aliens move. It's just that creepy, just walk towards you, like kind of slide towards you a little bit, which is what a lot of people who claim to have been abducted by aliens, that's kind of how they appear. They just appear out of nowhere, kind of. And you can kind of trace that back like to the biblical stuff. That's why with the whole aliens thing, I think it's probably some fallen angels or that sort of thing, because Jesus did the same thing. All the room was locked with all the disciples, and he just appeared in there. And that's kind of what the game was showing with the aliens. You just turn around and boom, they're right there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, they've always had it's one of those things where I didn't think about it for a long time. Like I had my UFO phase where I thought that stuff was interesting and
mhm.
listened to a lot of different guys that talked about it. So I had a pretty broad knowledge of the the typical talking points, plus some of the stuff that was a little more off the beaten path that you didn't hear that often. And later on in life, when I kind of refound Christianity, I forget who it was. There was someone I was listening to. It might have been John Lear. I can't quite remember, but he's not even a Christian. But he just had a weird observation personally that during his college days, because he did a lot of Bible courses and stuff, that even though he's more of a medical guy, he remembered the characteristics of fallen angels or demons or things like that, or how they were described even in other cultures, and how much it matched up with descriptions of UFO events. Like all the characteristics are the same. It's just the physical thing
Oh
you
yeah.
see is different, but otherwise they're 100% identical. And it was just that was like the one little thing that kind of took the idea off in my head to consider like they're obviously not real, but there is something real about it to the people that are experiencing this. Like I mean, like it's not real in the sense of it's not like legitimate aliens from another planet. It doesn't mean that I'll
Mhm.
dismiss someone that's had a very traumatic experience, and you can clearly tell they either have a mental problem or they had a legit traumatic experience that has
Yeah.
now caused like a mental problem,
Mhm.
which is where 99% of all mental problems come from in the first place.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's an imbalance occasionally, but it's almost all traumatic experiences.
Yeah, for anyone that's still in the chat, the what Joe is talking about is that based on the culture at the time, back in the biblical days, the days of Noah, the Nephilim and whatnot, a lot of the Nephilim features were snake-like. So their eyes were like that of the snake, hence like what the aliens look like. Their heads were elongated and all that stuff, kind of like what people who say they see the gray men or the aliens and stuff like that. A lot of those Nephilim features that the cultures describe are also what you see with people who claim they've been abducted by aliens.
Well, and it's strange too because you'll get like I'll give you a quick example because I know we're trying to wrap the show up, but
Mhm.
I
Yeah, I just didn't
think
want to take you if you needed to dip.
yeah, I didn't. Man, I wish I could remember their names. I'd have to look it back up. But there's these two dudes, and they're legitimate, scientists and engineers and researchers and shit. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of old VHS interviews from those days because I don't know if anything's been done with them since or been tracked down, where they had a lot of really weird, wild stories about their time working on the what was it called? I think the Philadelphia Project that everyone's talked about over the years, where it was basically like a splitting time and space
Mm.
experiment on behalf of the government, where a bunch of ships went out with these giant like magnetic time splitting things, and they turned them on, and essentially when the ships kind of came back to where they were supposed to be, like people were melted in with the fabric of the ship, and it was just a nightmare. Now, I don't know if this is 100% true, but there's enough people that have legitimate clearance that worked on these kind of things where you get the impression that it's true because you can get a sense from somebody when they believe what they're saying. Whether it's true or not is a different story. They believe what they're saying. So in their head, whether this happened or not, they clearly think it happened. And there were these researchers that came from that whole crew, and these dudes talked about all kinds of whack, like aliens and genetic things they made, and like the lizard people, all the David Icke type stuff. And the weird thing was they got to a point where they took these guys back to Sontag Island, which was where they did all their research. Um, and it was also the place where like all the Nazis from Paperclip were brought over that literally dealt with like psychology and breaking people's minds and
Mhm.
giving them alternate personalities. Like it was notorious for that. And the whole place has got weird imagery and psychedelic rooms and all these places in it where they would do like LSD experiments and shit on people. And God knows what else. That's kind of like the provable stuff. But when these guys got brought back there, you could literally see like something weird clicking in their heads, where it's like this isn't the place we worked in, but it is the place we worked in. Like you can tell someone scrambled their brains. Is my point. Like
Yeah.
there are events that happen. There are people that clearly believe they worked alongside lizard alien critters. They didn't necessarily think of it as demonic, even though it was from our perspective. Someone did something to their brains, and this facility was literally built on screwing with people's brains and seeing how far you could take it. And you just feel bad for them because now you see
Yeah.
these poor people having everything they thought questioned when they just told you this stuff flawlessly. All these cool stories that you can't just make up. Like they're not creative people. They're nerds. They do math all day. They're just not built for that. And to see the look on these poor dudes' faces, it makes you wonder how much of it's even just some poor person got their brain scrambled one night. I don't know how else to say it. It's just that's how
No, I get
these
you.
things that cross my mind when I've heard thousands of stories from different people and different experiences on different levels of where they work or what they do or what their status was in the world, because it goes anywhere from a farmer finding a mutilated cow that's just the weirdest, nothing about it makes sense thing you've ever seen. It's not a coyote getting a hold of it. It's weird. It's not even a ritualistic thing. It is just weird. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And then you get people that are high up government officials that clearly they're either just saying stuff and they don't care if it has continuity, or someone scrambled their brains. I mean, some of the astronauts even said they met the doctors that checked them out when they got home from the moon, and they don't remember these people. These people had to reintroduce themselves to them. They're like, no, I treated all you guys when you got home. And they're like, we're
Yeah.
sorry, we have no clue who you are. We have no memory in us between coming in the atmosphere and then leaving the briefing. There's like a gap in all these people. And it's sad. You see it on too many people's faces where something
Mhm.
clicks in their head and they're like, oh, fuck, I never thought about that. Like, there's a spot I don't know anything about in my brain, or I have some weird memory that now I'm trying to figure out if this actually happened or went down. So
Yeah, that's intense.
it's strange.
Even the the astronauts that landed on the moon and stuff, some of the astronauts even said that they saw the beings. Uh,
Yeah.
and so really creepy. It's like what you said, it's sad. And I remember on YouTube, I forget who the guy was, but a guy made it he worked with the government at some point, and I forget where he worked, but he worked pretty low and got to a point where he got to some high clearance areas that he could work. And he said when he went there, he saw like aliens and stuff like that, and kind of freaked out and like said like, oh, I'm done with this, and like ran away. And he said one of the guys like shot him because the guy was missing like these two fingers, like if you have a circle and like this. He says because one of the beings shot at him and it erased part of his hand and stuff like that. And he would do lectures and talk about like what the government's hiding on you, and he would show his hand and said, this is how I lost them. And the weird thing is he says, and I'll say this in every lecture and every topic I talk about this, kind of the joking thing that we hear from the other people where the people are like, I'm not suicidal, I'm not this and that. He said, when you hear, like, if you guys ever hear about my death, know that it wasn't from a suicide or anything like that. Like, they'll probably kill me. And it happened eventually.
I think that was, what was his name? Phil Schneider, maybe?
Yeah, that might have been his name. Him. Yeah.
I found Phil Schneider a long time ago, and it was just kind of like luck. Like, I stumble across a lot of stuff that I'm not necessarily looking for, but I'll just see someone in a comment section somewhere obscure be like, check out this dude. And I'm like, all right. And I just do to see what it is, because it always works out good. But yeah, I stumbled across Phil Schneider, and he'd already, there was a lot of his like VHS tapes of his lectures out there. I'd never seen him like in that format. I saw it once, like the YouTube digital age was here, but he actually, here's what's so strange about him. He has the clearance, he has the proof of his job. He was a contractor for underground installations and building them and making them and drilling areas, and he did do this stuff. He could prove that. But the part that was weird was his stories got like so weird that they almost did start to sound really stupid and just outright retarded. But then someone did come in his hospital, ripped the catheter out of his body, tied it around his throat, and choked him to death in his hospital room with his own catheter and left, and that's how they found him. That's
Yeah, it
the
is
hospital
Phil
staff
Schneider.
came in and found him choked to death with his own catheter. So like, that's what's so tough is like, dude had some wild stories, and I don't
Okay,
know if
yeah,
they're
I
true or
couldn't
not.
remember exactly what it is, but I do remember him working in the underground and stuff in his fingers, and yeah, I'm
Yeah,
looking it up, and yeah, it was this guy. And
and it's like, who would kill somebody like that unless they were trying to send messages to other people too?
yeah,
It's like he had to have been right about something, is my point. Like, I don't know what all was correct, but enough of it was real that it was worth ripping a catheter out of a man and choking him to death over it.
apparently so.
So,
Yeah, he doesn't even have a. No, that sucks. He doesn't even have a Wikipedia.
they're slowly starting to scrub him. There's a lot of these people that are getting tougher and tougher to find,
Oh,
even though
yeah,
you
I'm
can
looking
kind of
on.
write off,
I'm looking
you know.
at yeah, I'm on Google and well, technically Brave, and yeah, this was the dude. This is who I remember. I forget which video it was, but yeah, that's crazy. Well, he pissed enough people, apparently so. Yeah, that sucks.
Unintended.
All right,
It's
well, I think we'll go.
yeah.
What's up?
Nothing. Go ahead, man.
Oh, I was just to say, I think we'll go ahead and we'll end the stream for tonight. Joe, is there anything you want to plug? Anything?
Just check out Death if you're interested in crazy artwork and wild looking Bible lore meets Transformers, you know, a touch of Berserk-esque style in the midst of it. Or look up Swarm, which is our next hero book. That's more
There
your
you go.
flavor. Spider-Man or Superman, or you know, your more classic Western tales. We've got that one in production now,
Nice.
and it's going great. It's being colored, drawn, all that stuff all at the same time. So we will have that ready before we even launch it. It'll just be a matter of, you know, getting the money to print the books. So we're just covering all the labor and all that stuff up front on this one. It does cost a small fortune, but once you start to make a little money, you have to swing a little bit of it back, you know, and make sure that you can get ahead on some things and not just be solely relying on crowd funds from the very base of a project, because it is tough. You'd much rather be ahead. But yeah, Swarm, Death. You can find me on YouTube. I don't post a whole lot of videos, but I will every once in a while, or I'll go live for a little bit. And you can find me on Twitter at Comic Art Master 1. That's where you'll see most of my interaction, and I'm the easiest to get a hold of there.
Yeah, you should. I have your social medias listed in the description below. You said you got rid of. Yeah, because I have your Etsy and I have King Toad Incorporated Etsy. So, and you said one of them is gone.
Yeah, the Joe Ball ones. Yeah.
Oh, so no more Joe Ball one. Okay.
No, we're just going to combine them to one Etsy here.
Yep. Cool. So yeah, so that is Joe's stuff. So check him out, what he just said, also in the description below. And as for me, feel free to like and subscribe, smash the subscribe, punch the plus and the like button if you're on YouTube or Rumble. I am also on Odyssey. All my stuff is also in the description below. Also check out my locals, powerkegreg.locals.com. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Thanks for everyone to stop by. Joe, always nice to talk with you.
You too, man.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be more shows down the road. So, guys, keep an eye out.
Yes.
All right. Have a good night, you guys. Take care and see you later. Peace.
Later, Gators.
And later, Tater.